Hello, so today we are talking about the case of Tamra Keepness. This one does involve the case of a child, so if cases about children bother you, this might not be the one for you. She is still missing, so it's not like we're going to be talking about her body being found or anything like that, but it is very sad, and there's really no answers. Indigenous people really don't get the coverage that they should. And it's really sad in this case because it does involve a child. But a lot of this is going to be quotes from Lorena and tidbits about the night she went missing. So let's go ahead and get into it. And all the links I used for research will be down below, like always. And let's jump into it. So, Lorena Keepness describes her daughter as her little Einstein. She says her daughter was so intelligent, she was brave, loving, and she just loved her family. And she says, quote, "When I was pregnant with her sister, she would come and sit beside me on the couch and rub my belly and kiss my belly and talk to her little sister," end quote. Tamra Jewel Keepness was 5 years old and was part of the White Bear First Nation in Saskatchewan. On the evening of July 5th, 2004, Tamra would last be seen from her home in Regina, Saskatchewan. Based on what is known about her disappearance, the 6 children, because those are all of Lorena's children, the 6 children were home with Lorena and her partner, Dean MacArthur. According to media reports, an argument broke out between Lorena and Dean. Dean would leave and run into Russell Sheepskin, who was an occasional resident at the house. And the two of them would go out for drinks, and Lorena was home. She would eventually send the children up to bed, upstairs, and then she went 1 block over to a friend's house while the oldest child stayed with the kids. Lorena is reported to also have been drinking at this time. Russell would come back to the house to make a meal, and he would check in on the children at around midnight, and he says that the children were sleeping in the living room. If you remember, they had went upstairs, and he's saying that they are in the living room now, so they might have moved downstairs. Before leaving again, Russell said Dean beat him up so badly that he had to go to get stitches at the hospital, and that fight broke out around 3 a.m. Lorena would come home shortly after that, and the doors were locked, so she entered the house through a window. She may have noticed 2 of her daughters, Tanis and Summer, asleep on the couch when she came in, and Dean said he went to his aunt's house to sleep early that morning. So the next day, Rain, who was another one of the siblings, felt Tamra get up and leave the bed. About 90 minutes later, when no one could find her, the family called the police, and there would be a large search in the Regina area. And at the time of her disappearance, police said that there were no signs of forced entry or struggle at the home. Lorena says the initial investigation focused mostly on the family and that the police brought her other children in for questioning, and I remember her saying she was not happy about how the investigation was mostly focused on the family and how that investigation was handled. There was an Amber Alert released only days after she went missing. A spokesperson at Regina Police Service indicated that at the time the circumstances did not meet the criteria for an Amber Alert, which is why it did not go out sooner, and it was days after. And so I was wondering, what is the criteria to have an Amber Alert in Regina? And this is the most basic requirements for an Amber Alert, and it did say that these vary by province, and I'm not sure if this is the same criteria that there was at the time, but when I looked as of now, this is the criteria, and that is the child must be under 18, a belief that the child has been abducted, a belief that the child is in danger, that information is available that may help locate the child and or abductor, so like a description of the child, the abductor, or the vehicle, and the alert to be issued within a reasonable time from the moment of abduction. And the thing about children is that time matters. I can't remember the statistic. I think it's believed that if you don't find the child within like 48 hours, they probably aren't alive anymore. That children have to be found really quickly because a lot of the times, if you can't find them within the 48 hours, they're either dead or you're just not going to find them. And it doesn't say how many days later, it just says days later. So I'm going to assume that this was probably later than 48 hours. So you're past the very, very crucial time that's needed to find Tamra. So this Amber Alert was very late getting out. And based on this, I guess I could understand why they didn't do it, because there's a belief that the child has been abducted. They said there wasn't any forced entry or a sign of a struggle, so for all they know, she could have just left. And they don't know if the child is in danger because they don't know where she went or if she's with someone. And they don't have the information. They have information of the child, but of who the abductor is or the vehicle. So I guess I kind of understand, but it still feels like they could have put something out a little bit sooner, just like, hey, this child is missing. If you find her, call the cops, or something like that. I don't know. That's just my thought on it, but since Tamra went missing, police have received more than 1,700 tips, and they said that they have conducted hours of interviews. Since June 2015, there has been a $50,000 reward offered for information leading up to a conviction, or finding her. So I might pronounce this last name wrong, but Erica Bowden, I believe, the executive director at the Regina Treaty Status Indian Services, has been closely connected with Tamra's family. Erica says that the anniversary of her disappearance serves as a day to remember Tamra, as well as the issue of other missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirited people. There is an annual barbecue held at Regina's Pepsi Park on the day of the disappearance, and it reminds her family that they aren't alone. Erica says that the family also still gets re-traumatized every time a social media post or message about Tamra comes through, or they are approached about her disappearance. And a quote from Erica is that all of us, as citizens and as people who know and love this little girl that we have not met, we feel as though we are part of her family. We feel as though we have that connection with her, but the reality is that they are her family, end quote. And that's true. You feel like, listening to this case, going to this barbecue every year, you might feel like you know the family, but the thing is, you're not part of the family. The family is re-traumatized, and they're going through pain every single year that goes by that she's just not found. And that's something to keep in mind. So, when asked where she thinks Tamra is, Lorena says, "Someone stole her. That's all I know. Someone stole my child." And even though it's been 18 years since she went missing, Lorena is still hopeful, and she says, "I don't feel she's gone. I don't feel she's gone at all. I think she can still come home," end quote. And that is what I have for you guys on Tamra Keepness. So, I honestly don't even know really what I think. Maybe because there's no sign of a struggle or forced entry, it leads me to believe that, because it also says that the doors and everything were locked when Lorena came home, that maybe it was Russell Sheepskin. It could have, maybe it would have been really disgusting, but maybe Dean. I just can't. I don't know if Tamara was the kind of child that talked to strangers. I can't imagine she would be. or maybe she just went outside for some reason. I really don't know who could have done this or where she could have gone. It's absolutely mind-blowing to me, and I just want to say that what I have in this video is the only information I could really find. I couldn't find anything about searches or investigations. I really couldn't find anything, or really any theories about what they think could have happened. But the fact that there wasn't a struggle or anything like that, it kind of makes me feel like maybe if someone did take her, she knew who it was, and that would leave the adults in the home. And it wasn't them. Did she just leave? Why did she leave? Like, there's so many unanswered questions, and I really hope that they're answered for the family's sake. I can't imagine how it has to be. You know, you want to honor your daughter every year or your sister every year, but when you do, that pain just comes back full force because you have people talking about Tamra and approaching you about your daughter, and you still you're still in the dark about what happened, and I can't imagine that kind of pain. But I think it's really admirable that Lorena has so much hope, and that she says she doesn't think her daughter's gone. I think that is definitely something she needs to hold on to, because moms know best. That's that motherly instinct. You know, you hear a lot of mothers say, "I knew when my child was gone. I just had a feeling," and maybe she's right. Maybe Tamara is still out there. There is still that chance. Um, the thing that just bothers me, is the whole Amber Alert situation, because the first, maybe it's not even the first 48 hours, maybe it's the first 24 hours that are super important, especially with children. But that doesn't mean she's dead. It could just mean that she's out there somewhere, and maybe she can still be found alive and brought home, and I hope that's the case for Lorena's sake. And yeah, that is the story of Tamara. What do you think happened? Like always, please be respectful in the comments. You never know if the family is watching the video or anything like that, so just be really respectful. There's no reason to leave any nasty comments, and nobody does, but every once in a while I just like to reiterate that. Just be kind in the comments if you do leave what you think happened. But thank you so much for listening to Tamara's story, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.